context. Context is key to just about every discussion, evaluation, whatever you have around draft time, NFL. If you're breaking down film, trying to get points across, context. Sometimes, even we all miss context and we don't include it in some of our breakdowns. So today, I'm going to break down a very polarizing wide receiver in the 2024 draft cycle. I've seen a lot of takes, opinions, and it's all right to have your own opinion, but I do believe that there is some context missing with this specific player's evaluation. I'm going to do my best today to give you an upfront, honest analysis of his film and why I think that his tape is going to translate much better and why the NFL is probably higher on him than a lot of people out there in the media and on the Twitter sphere. Welcome to the RGR Football Channel. My name is Daniel Harms, Senior Film Analyst. And if you guys are new to the channel, I do these every single week, and you're going to want to be subbed. So go ahead and hit that sub button, and then allow me to earn a like from you guys as we break down Florida State wide receiver Keon Coleman. That's right. We're going to the ex-receiver type player. We've done Adonai Mitchell. We've done Xavier Legette. We're going to talk about Keon Coleman, who went from Michigan State, transferred to Florida State last year, measured in at 6'3", 213 pounds, 32 and an 1/8 inch arms, and 9 and 3/8 inch hands. Obviously, the big thing that everyone wanted to talk about was his 40-yard dash, the 4.61 that he ran at the combine with a 1.54 10-yard split. He showed better acceleration than I was expecting, to be honest with you. And he jumped 38 inches and had a 10.7 broad jump. So if you measure him up against a guy like Adonai Mitchell, he comes underneath in the athletic scores and the athletic tests and things like that. So one of the big things that I am seeing about Keon Coleman is that he doesn't create separation. That's fair. I understand the context there in terms of what he was asked to do, the routes that he was asked to run. And I'm going to go ahead and take it a step further. And I believe that the offense in Florida State and the quarterback at Florida State played a key role in not allowing them to use Keon Coleman to his best abilities. Now, obviously, he's a fantastic jump ball winner kind of player with the size, hand strength, and the hand size, all those things coming to fruition. But there's a lot more to his game than I think people really give him credit for. So we're going to go ahead and jump in, break this guy down, because there's a lot to like, in my opinion, about this player, specifically because of not just all the different ways that Florida State actually asked him to line up as a Z, as an X in the slot, in motion. They asked him to do far too many wide receiver screens for my liking, but this 2 offenses ago, Michigan State, Florida State, not the best run offenses, but how are you going to get open? How can you be a vertical threat in the NFL if you're not as fast as some of these guys? I don't think he's slow by any stretch. I think he's faster than his 4.61 combine time, but this route concept here, you're just going to see these guys all basically go vertical. Every single one of them, you're going to have a stem up inside and go. And Keon is going to do the same thing here. He's going to give vertical and then jab to the outside. Oh, excuse me. They come up here, jab to the inside, move that cornerback with his shoulders, with his eyes, with his head, and then go right around and go up the field. Now, we see the defense playing down a little bit here with the safeties. And also, as an offense that wants to get either of your outside receivers in that one-on-one situation, we can see here just by the judging how far these players are, that it's typically going to be Keon Coleman with the option to be able to get open downfield. You have only one receiver on the opposite side, so that safety is going to take over there to the left side, be shaded to the left a little bit, and then you have the slot receiver here, and that is going to be occupied by this safety. So that leaves it to Keon down here to be able to get open. So as we get through the route here, again, vertical, 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 stop. He looks inside a little bit, gets that jab step opportunity, and watch how he's going to continue timing, manipulation tactics. He's open. Look how long that ball took to get there. This is kind of what part of the process that I'm looking at right here, is that this is a really good route from Keon Coleman. He's going to release to the inside. He's going to get vertical, and then he's going to come outside and around a little bit. He's going to give it a little bit to the outside, but then come back around to the football. So there's that inside. He gets vertical. He sees number 12s on him. He stays square, and then he breaks down. He can sink his hips pretty well. There's that hand usage. You see the swipe around turns back to the football. If that ball was thrown a little bit with more timing from Travis, I know he's getting through his own reads too, but from the end zone angle that we're going to get to, it does look like he is looking at the middle of the field where those safeties are. So the timing from Keon is actually quite good. It's past the marker. He gets that first down feel right here. See him break down, get in and out of that break quickly, and the deceleration, right? Those are all there, but then the football does not get there on time. It allows number 12 to get downhill and kind of catch him on his back before the ball even gets there. But if that ball were on time, be out, he have a much better chance of catching it through the contact because that number 12 is not right on his back. So I loved the timing, the inside release, the vertical stem. All of those things really worked out for him right there. And that's what I'm talking about with the timing. Coming back, decelerating, get out of his cut. Really nice job there. I will say one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing improve upon is his release packages. You don't see a ton of varied releases from him. It's typically either just a hesitation or a go in terms of getting out of his stance and getting upfield. But he does have those manipulations. He can manipulate corners. I think he does an excellent job of manipulating corners when he's asked to, when he's given a route concept. They're just an out route against man-on-man coverage. You've got 6-7 yards of separation here. You're going to close the gap, and you're going to attack the feet. So I'm going to be vertical, vertical, vertical. I'm going to move the DB with not only shoulders, with eyes, with hands, but with intention to that inside as well. I'm going to open the DB's hips this way, and I'm going to break back to the outside with my hands. Also, using hands. Hand usage is very important in coming back through and under and around wide or DBs, excuse me. So again, here's that. Sell the vertical right there. Gets to that almost post and then goes to the out. He's wide open. Nice first down here. And this is part of the thing that I'm really interested in is that he has all of these, in my opinion, he has good footwork, nuance, and manipulation in his game, but it wasn't always asked of him. It wasn't always there. So consistency in that aspect. And honestly, this ball probably could have come out earlier too. It nearly gets to flare. So that was part of my issue with the offense is that one, a lot of what Keon Coleman was asked to run are these posts, these curls, wide receiver, or it's not a post, goes, hitches, curls, wide receiver screens on this vertical plane. He can do a lot more from a footwork and a route running perspective. And I do think that one of the areas, another area he needs to improve upon is at the top of his route. When you are getting to that top of your route, the break point, you have to be able to explode out of your route. So here he is, inside release, get through, and he gets caught at the top of his route. When you insert physicality at the top of your route, maybe he's not being asked to catch the football here. Maybe he's not the read. Maybe he's not the hot route, whatever it may be. You got to be able to explode through your breaks. One, you can catch those DBs, especially if they're flat-footed. You can catch them and you can break open over the middle of the field. So right here, again, you're going to also see kind of a weird speed dilation. And what that means is messing with the different tempos of your route in that stem. So he's going to kind of put his head down right here, come up, kind of half speed it. It's a little bit weird in this specific route. It does show up more on his tape as well when he's trying to use more speed dilation because he does use speed dilation. It's definitely prevalent on his tape where he's not always running full speed, but he's trying to lull DBs to sleep and whether or not he can actually do and move them with just making them pause a little bit. So 5 doesn't have to worry much here. He stops, he's flat-footed, but if he explodes out of his break with the DB's, hips this way, you have the ability to then either get a holding penalty, or whatnot, but you can get open this way too. If you just explode out of your break here and get going, you can get a holding penalty, but instead it kind of stops when the contact is put there. So that is something that I saw quite a bit. And for a bigger guy, I would like to see him use his physicality a bit more at the top of your route, especially if you're not going to be able to necessarily always create separation like you see some of the smaller, quicker, faster guys in the short to intermediate parts. Use your physicality to your advantage. As long as you don't extend all the way with your arms, you can get open and you can create some penalties. That's something that he did as well, was create some penalties for defensive pass interference. The next part that really, in my opinion, stuck out on his tape was inconsistencies in where to stop against zone. So this is just zone coverage. He's supposed to be, running either this little in route or a curl route, but he's either not expecting the football, one, or he doesn't necessarily see what's happening. And to me, it looks like we get a little bit of an invert here from these corners and safeties. So this guy comes down here. They're going to run what looks like cover 3. So you have the safeties, the DBs on the outside are going to get to that boundary, and then you have the one deep in the middle. And then, again, it looks like these two are coming down and playing underneath a little bit. So you have this cover 3, and then this underneath player number 0 is going to get out here. So if you have these guys moving around and you're running a curl route, what I'd like to see, again, is if you are coming out here and that number, you clear number 0 and you know it's zone, just stop now or get inside now. Whatever you need to do, get down, get inside, however it needs to happen. As soon as you're cleared, you kind of understand that this DB on my outside with outside leverage is going to continue to go to get to his spot, right? So me as a wide receiver, I need to be able to see number 0 coming this way, and as soon as I clear him, get down. Adjust your route path. And I understand that sometimes based on what they're asked to do, it's getting to a spot on the field. But route adjustments versus zone need to happen. And right here, this is another one of those not exploding out of your brakes kind of thing, because he gets to here, maybe he's not expecting the ball or whatnot, but he's not coming across the middle or coming back to the football, and it gets delayed. The throw comes, he's not expecting it, then he comes to it, catching through contact with 2 guys on him. It ends up pushing the ball in the air. It gets intercepted and taken back for a touchdown. So 2 things that I would prefer to see him get better at is dealing with contact at the top of his route, and then sitting down in those zones, understanding and recognizing the zone that you're running through, running into, and being able to stop in those soft spots a little more consistently is going to help him develop at the next level. And we get into a little bit more press coverage here, because the big misnomer that I've seen is that he can't get open against man coverage, which, again, I believe is specifically to be false. I don't believe that at all. I think he can actually do it quite well, because there's that, again, that hesitation ability, the hesitation release here. He's going to hesitate, square up his route at the top, right here, of the release, top of the route release, and he's going to go right around this DB with, again, no safety help over top. Against man coverage, you're running a go, you're just getting into space. So he's going to use his hands, clear, to get that arm over, right here, over the DB's hands. He's flat-footed. So boom, there he goes. He's 100% wide open. And obviously the ball goes elsewhere. This happens multiple times. It's not just a one-off play. He's able to create against single-man coverage a lot, and he does get open, especially to NFL standards. I think we make this big, large gesture, this ability that, he's not 2-3 yards open, but for his size, his arm length, and his hand catching and his hand strength, 1 yard of separation is 1 yard of separation, and that's NFL open. And those windows, they're always going to be a lot closer in the NFL than they are in college. And how do you trust those players to make plays in that type of coverage? And I believe, personally, that he can do those things. So, against press coverage, again, I would like to see more release usage, something a little more variety to keep DBs off balance, to be able to have more at his disposal. But this is another area I would love to see him do more in the NFL, and this is specifically scheme. He was not asked to run very many dig routes, but I'm a big fan of the big body, the ability that he has to run those dig routes, and there you kind of see the lazy getting into his release and not really going through it full speed. You need, as a wide receiver, I need you to run a dig route. Every single route that you run should be full speed to an extent, especially if you're getting out of those breaks. So here, at the top of his route, he's going to give to the outside, come underneath, and then really round that off and really elevating the dig route. But he sees that his quarterback is getting out of trouble, right? He's got to get out of trouble. He's going to go out to his right. Get into space. So you've got a receiver coming this way, across the field. Number 2, they're playing zone coverage, so I know he's going here. So as I just did that all with the wrong color, my bad. Number 2 is coming out here. They've got a guy here and another guy chasing. So you can get confused. You don't necessarily always pass off the right guy. And then you've got the underneath defenders here and one on the backside who looks like he's about to fall over. So as Keon's coming across here, he looks like he's about to stop right here, which I would prefer if you're going to stop, you stop like right here. But again, doesn't really matter at this point. Into space. Get into space, identify that space, and keep going. And as Travis gets out, he accelerates. He actually accelerates through, gets into that space with the confusion downfield here of this receiver who is wide open downfield. But you have 2 guys chasing him. Number 25 right here is behind the play. And now Keon Coleman is open, and this ball should also have been out a hair early, but it's on time now for the outside. I think he has very good some yards after the catch as well. Playing at the sideline is also a pretty big strength of his. Something that got thrown onto my radar pretty quickly is that, like I said, they use a lot of wide receiver screens and things like that, and he likes to mess with DBs when he's not actually running a wide receiver screen or when he's not actually running a route. He is a physical bully in the run game. He's going to just kind of hesitate sometimes, and then he just comes out and boom, bulldozes some of these DBs around. And I love that type of mentality in a wide receiver. Is it always consistent? No, but you can see it more than a few times a game from the ones that I watched. In the run game, he will come and he'll attack. He will change up the way that he's releasing in the run game, whether he's going to block or whether he's going to run a route. And I like that variety to be able to keep DBs off balance and keep them out of the run game. Especially if you can get a fast guy to the edge. If you have a DB focused on you or blocking, whether he thinks you're going to run a route, you can take him out of the play effectively. And I like that. I like that ability from Keon Coleman. Obviously, the big thing, right? The big thing that got him on the map at Michigan State early on in the season in 2023 is all those big plays downfield. Oftentimes, I believe FSU said it was the game-winning touchdown against Clemson. And again, he's not doing anything here outside of just going downfield. Number 1, that safety comes down around. He's not creating separation because they're at the 25-yard line. It's a go route down the right side, whether you want to call it a fade or not, whatever. And there can't be any separation here because it's not enough time, not enough space for him to actually do it. And he's not the quickest release guy, doesn't have the most variety, but post up, stack the DB, make a play. So right here, DB stacked. Check. Okay. Look for the football. Head looking for the football. Check. Hand-eye coordination to get check. He checks all those big body boxes for a guy who I'm of the opinion from watching his tape that he has much better footwork than he's given credit for. And then again, you can tell by the timing of the jump that he's just tracking it at a whole different speed than this guy. He's not even jumping. He's already jumping, elevating with 2 hands. 2 hands. Not 1 hand. It's 2 hands. So he's going up, not caring about that guy on his hip because he knows he can elevate. He can track it. He can time everything beautifully to go get that football, come down with it, and score a touchdown. Probably jumped a little bit early because as he's coming down, the ball tends to drop there a little bit. But most of the time, his timing is excellent. And he's able to hide his hands to the last second and create that last second separation on jump balls and downfield footballs that make them, instead of 50-50 balls, those 60-40, 70-30 balls, because he can hide his hands. He can jump at the last second and time things very well, especially at the sideline. Great sideline feel. This is, again, back to the screen stuff, because it was so infuriating watching how many times they asked Johnny Wilson and Jaheim Bell and Keon Coleman, who they're not quick wide receivers in the sense that you get them the football in these wide receiver screens and they could take it for a 10-yard, a 100-yard touchdown, like you see Tyreek Hill or even Tank Dell, these quick, fast guys. It's not their game. But I believe that this is more in his wheelhouse than he gets credit for, specifically because it was so predictable to see how many times a game he got a screen pass. So here he is. Oh, I have to make a catch because this is a poorly located football. Hands before you try to make a play after the catch. He trusts his hands so much, and he should. Right there, look, he is now turning and looking at this guy coming in. Like, this is what I love about him, is that he knows his hands are excellent. So he's looking for this guy who's coming downhill here. All right. So as a wide receiver, you have to jump, elevate. You're not gaining any momentum, right? So that DB is like, I'm going to hit you downhill right where you are. And Keon's like, no, you're not. Right there. Yeah, he could keep running, but he's got the angle. Okay. DB's got the angle here. So I will stop. I'll decelerate, and I will move around you. Make you go that way. I'll go find a block. So this is, again, one of the parts of his knee screens. Too many go balls. It became so predictable. And especially at the end of the season when Jordan Travis got hurt, 4, 5, 6 times a game, you saw them throw a screen pass to Keon Coleman. You can get him in space. I think he identifies space well after the catch, and he's still growing in that zone reading ability that he has. But let's make no mistake about one of the big reasons he's going to be a big playmaker in the NFL, because of this right here. He can be your X, solo, one-on-one, throw me the football, I will go find it. I'll do it. I'll do whatever you have to. My tracking is great. And then this is again a play. If he doesn't catch the football, the guy held him. He clearly held him. So right at the top here, you have to be able to master. So you guys both create contact. You have both arms in, and then he's just going to take him away. Takes him away. It's almost like pushing off, but not, because he's selling it right as that DB is trying to get physical with him too. So typically, these refs are calling the push off, the huge push off, right? If you do it at the same time that DB comes in on you, boom, you can create that separation, and then he's behind the play the whole way. And this is when we talked about his eyes after the catch. Watch right here. He knows he's got to get his feet in bounds. This was a beautiful play. Seeing, okay, I got space, guys. I got space. As soon as those hands even touch the football, he is looking down. Whether it's to the guys in front of him, the DBs, the defenders. You can't teach his size, his body control, his hand strength. Those things you can't teach. You can teach the zone field. You can teach the release packages. You can teach some of these things that he's not great at right now. I mean, speed's different, but you can't teach what he's about to do right here either, by the way. You can hope that one day guys do this. You can hope, but it's just not. It's like, no, I'm going to take that from you. It's going all the way over my head and your head, because let's be honest, my quarterback is inaccurate pretty much to all levels of the field at all times, and he overthrows his football, but I'll make a play. My elbow gets rested on your shoulder pad. No big deal, right? I'm just going to do something. I'll make a play. You're hopefully going to catch it. That's what this offense felt like. So, in my opinion, in the grand scheme of what I see from Keon Coleman, it's a bit different than I think that we're just charting open and not open. And there's so much more context being missed with, if he's not open, well, what is he running? Is it too high, 2-man under? If he's running a curl route into zone, okay, all of these things need a little bit of context. And like I was talking to you guys earlier about things I think he needs to improve upon, there's a lot that he can do, specifically coaching wise. I think that's an area that we don't know. Practice, what are they asked to do in practice? What do they work on in practice? And I got this video earlier the week about Keon Coleman working. Like, he's working with one of the best wide receiver coaches right now. Like, this was from early March. So we see him working on releases. We see him working on the releases. That's the huge thing for me. Release package. How can you get open? How are you going to lull these guys to sleep at the top of your route? How are you going to break out, accelerate out of your movements like I was talking about? And this is from March, so he knows he has to work on it. And he is working on it and getting to the point, hopefully, where he's going to be able to do that. So all of these things in consideration, it's hard to know what players are doing in the practice room, what they're asked to do off the field. But from the film that I've watched, I've pretty much watched every single Florida State game. Early on in the season, I think there was an injury in there somewhere, but regardless, early on in the season, he played very good football. He was getting open against man coverage. When that offense changed, either when he got hurt or after the Jordan Travis injury, it really impacted what he was able to do. So Keon Coleman can get open, he needs to improve upon it, use more of those different release packages, get better exploding out of his breaks, just mix it up a little bit and get into, honestly, landing spot's going to be pretty important for him too. So specifically when we're talking about Kansas City, yes, we're coming back to Kansas City now. He does fit because you can scheme him open. You can use his big body down the field as well to generate area underneath. You can also use a guy like Marquise Brown to open space for him specifically. We saw last year Rashee Rice learn the zone game because it wasn't really his game, but they wanted to use his explosiveness underneath. So they can teach how to sit in zone, and he got better week after week after week at finding those soft spots and sitting down in them. That's an area with offensive scheme personnel and coach and all those things that you can teach these younger players. And I'll tell you what, two offenses in Michigan State and Florida State that did not use him well, I would have ran so many different dig routes with him all the time. Just break open over the middle of the field. Use his size, use his hand strength to catch those footballs and honestly run so many dagger plays. I think the lack of speed at wide receiver, true deep speed at wide receiver at Florida State, hurt him and the ability to not be used that way. So I do think that he's an X receiver and that he likens himself. I liken him more to a Drake London with the footwork. I think he's a better footwork player than he gets credit for. That yards after catch play that I showed you guys should be more commonplace for him. But like I said, it's not because they did not do a great job of showcasing it and they made it very predictable. So I think Keon Coleman is going to make plays in the NFL, and it all really depends on landing spot. But I do believe if they want a true X receiver in Kansas City that offers deep ball, the ability to go be a one-on-one guy, just moss somebody, catch a football, be a red zone threat as well. He has all of that ability and then room to grow as a player that's learning the system, learning those zones, but has, like I said, the footwork to be able to make guys miss after the catch, to be able to decelerate and get upfield and get going. So that's what it is. I believe in Keon Coleman, and I think that he's a much better player than he's been given credit for. Myself, you may not agree, and that's okay. That's what we're here for, to have opinions, to have differences, and at the end of the day, try to learn a little bit of something from each other if we can. So I hope I was able to earn a like from you guys for this breakdown of Keon Coleman, Florida State wide receiver. I think he's going to be a fantastic player in the NFL. Landing spot determining some of that because of coaching staff and situation and all that, and quarterback on it, and obviously quarterback helps too. So if he catches passes from Patrick Mahomes, I think that would also help elevate him in the NFL ranks as well. I hope you guys, like I said, enjoyed this. You have yourselves a great rest of your week. We're going to continue to break down the draft, the Chiefs here at rgrfootball.com, and give you guys the best content that we can, provide as much context as possible, and hopefully you'll learn something from this breakdown as I continue to learn myself and teach and do everything that I can to communicate as clearly as possible. So please have yourselves a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.